A tiny copper coin, forgotten in a dusty jar, dismissed as worthless pocket change, transformed into a millionaire's miracle overnight. And here's the terrifying truth: you might already own one that you just haven't looked close enough, because this isn't just any 1967 penny, this is a ghost from America's minting past, a copper clue hiding in plain sight. And only a handful of people in the world know exactly what to look for, but by the end of this video, you'll be one of them. It all begins in a year of chaos. 1967. Vietnam raged overseas. Civil rights protests rocked the nation, and the U.S. Mint was under siege. Collectors were flooding banks, grabbing proof sets, and hoarding coins by the thousands. It created a crisis: massive coin shortages, dangerous delays, and mounting public pressure. So the U.S. Mint did something shocking. In 1965, 1966, and 1967, no coins bore their typical D for Denver or S for San Francisco. Everything, whether struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, was released with no mint mark at all. To the public, every penny looked the same, but here's the catch: they weren't, because in 1967, something slipped through, as something the mint never meant to release. And what happened next stunned even the most experienced collectors. One Lincoln penny, struck that year, had a detail so subtle, so mysterious, that most people never saw it. He wasn't a dealer. He wasn't an expert. He was just a 63-year-old coin hobbyist from Indiana, rummaging through a coffee can full of old change after retiring. He spotted it under low light, a strange doubling on Lincoln's profile. The letters looked off, like they were trembling. He thought it was his eyes, but when he showed it to a local coin club, the room went silent. Then chaos erupted. A respected numismatist took one look and declared it a doubled die obverse, one of the rarest minting errors in American history. But this wasn't just any doubling, it was bold, pronounced, and unlisted. A 1967 Lincoln cent with strong doubling on Liberty, and the date was the only one ever authenticated, and when it hit auction, bidders lost their minds. Collectors flew in from across the country, dealers whispered behind closed doors. One man tried to buy it before the auction even began, offering six figures in cash, but the owner held firm. When the final gavel fell, the penny sold for $1.40 million. And here's the most haunting part: experts believe more of them are still out. They're unfound, unseen, unbelievably valuable, because in 1967, the mint was in chaos. Dies were reused and overworked. Quality control was inconsistent, which means multiple dies could have produced the same rare error, and any one of them could be sitting in a drawer right now, in your home. Because this detail is what separates a 1-cent coin from a $1 million miracle. First, the coin must be from 1967. No mint mark. That's standard, because no U.S. coins had mint marks that year. Next, look closely, and I mean extremely closely, at Liberty on the left side of the obverse. If you see any sign of doubling, where the letters appear stamped twice, like a shadow or a slight shift, don't ignore it. On the rare variety, the 6 and 7 often show the clearest doubling, bold, thick, and unmistakable under magnification. And here's the test that stunned even experienced collectors: tilt the coin slowly under light. If the doubling is real, you'll see the shadow shift in opposite directions, like a mirage breaking in two. It's hypnotic. Now, there are many fake doubled dies floating around. Machine doubling, die fatigue, even intentional alterations, but the true doubled die from 1967 is deep, bold, and unmistakably struck into the metal, not scraped, not faded. It was born at the moment of minting, and that's what gives it value. But the surprises don't stop there. In 2007, another penny from 1967 showed up at a Midwest coin show. It had similar doubling, but only on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial itself. Once again, dealers were stunned. Some believed it was from a separate die pairing, others thought it might be a counterfeit, but when PCGS got their hands on it, they confirmed it. Another legitimate error: that coin didn't hit $1.4 million, but it was still valued over $130,000. There isn't just one valuable 1967 penny, there could be dozens, maybe hundreds, and every single one is waiting to be found. But what makes this story so emotional, so powerful, is that these coins were almost destroyed. In 1968, millions of old coins were melted down and recycled. The flawed coins were pulled from circulation, banks cleaned out their vaults. Many 1967 doubled dies never stood a chance. They're like time travelers, survivors of a forgotten war. Tiny relics carrying the DNA of a minting mistake and the dreams of every collector who dares to believe in the impossible. And today, collectors are hunting like never before. Some are pouring through eBay listings, others are hitting flea markets, garage sales, or buying bulk wheat pennies just to catch a glimpse. Coin forums are lighting up, Reddit threads are flooded with close-up photos, magnifier apps, and stories of lucky finds. This isn't just a penny. It's a $1.4 million invitation. to change your life with a single discovery. And now, here's how you can find one. Start by collecting every 1967 Lincoln penny you can get your hands on, especially those with clear details and no major wear. Invest in a 10x jeweler's loupe or digital microscope. Search in natural light. Look for bold doubling on Liberty, the date, and possibly the Lincoln Memorial. Don't dismiss coins that look off. Imperfections might be clues, and if you find something suspicious, get it certified by a professional grading service, because only authentication can turn a suspicion into $1 million reality. So tonight, after you empty your pockets, before you toss the change into the jar, it looked just like any other penny, dull copper tone, barely noticed, lying face down on a kitchen counter, but beneath its ordinary appearance was a silent storm of secrets, and that tiny omission has created one of the most shocking stories in American coin history, because what looks like a simple, forgotten penny is now lighting up auctions, stunning collectors, and changing lives forever. But before we reveal exactly why this coin is worth up to $1.50 million, you need to hear the bizarre, almost unbelievable backstory. It starts at the Philadelphia Mint. 1988 was a transitional year, a year of quiet chaos. The US Mint was adjusting equipment, switching designs, modernizing processes, and during that chaotic process, a mistake was born. A mistake that would take decades to uncover, and that mistake is now worth a fortune. You see, most 1988 pennies made in Philadelphia look perfectly normal. They don't have a mint mark, as expected, because the Philly Mint rarely added one in those years. But what no one realized is that a handful of these 1988 no mint mark pennies were struck using a reverse die meant for a different year. A die meant for the 1989 penny was accidentally used to strike some 1988 coins, and if you're thinking that sounds like a small detail, that's exactly what makes it so dangerous, because that tiny design difference, invisible to most, is the $1 million key. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For nearly a decade, these flawed pennies went unnoticed. They were spent, pocketed, dropped, lost, forgotten, until one day, a sharp-eyed collector in Illinois noticed something strange. He held two 1988 pennies side by side. One looked different. The G and FG, the designer's initials under the Lincoln Memorial, was sharper, bolder, too clean, too modern. It was the design used for the 1989 reverse, somehow appearing on a 1988 coin. The dealer squinted, blinked, then said the words no one expected, "You might want to get this authenticated." That collector sent it to PCGS, and when the results came back, the room went silent. It was real. An extremely rare 1988 penny with the wrong reverse design, caused by a misused die. Collectors were shocked, dealers began scouring their inventories, people started digging through old jars, hoping lightning would strike twice. Only a tiny handful of these coins have ever been found, and every single one is now worth tens of thousands. One pristine example, in near perfect condition, sold for over $35,000. But here's where the story gets wilder. A private collector in Texas claims to have found an uncirculated, ultra-high-grade example of the same coin, stored away in a sealed roll for decades. This coin was recently appraised at over $1.5 million, and major auction houses are preparing to bid for it in secret. $1 million coins don't just sit in museums, sometimes they hide in plain sight. In desk drawers. In dusty coin jars. In the palm of your hand, and this is one of them. But the clock is ticking, because every day, more of these coins disappear forever, damaged, spent, or lost, and the few that remain are only growing more valuable. Here's what to look for, and what most people miss. It must be a 1988 Lincoln penny without a mint mark. Flip it over, and examine the reverse side, the image of the Lincoln Memorial. Look closely beneath the right side of the memorial. You'll see the tiny initials FG, for Frank Gasparo, the coin's designer. And now, focus on the G. On normal 1988 coins, the G appears rounded and soft, from an older, worn die, but on the rare variety, the one struck with the 1989 reverse die, the G is sharper, more angular, with a distinct straight tail. That sharper tail is the key. Collectors call this the 1988 reverse of 1989 variety, or 1988 RDV006. Only certified graders and experts can verify the coin for certain, but if your penny matches that sharper reverse, you may be holding a fortune. But here's what happened to one man who almost threw it away. He was clearing out his late father's belongings, found an old cigar box filled with wheat pennies and memorials. Most were worth face value. He almost tossed them, but something told him, just in case. He pulled out a magnifying glass, and that's when he saw it, a 1988 no mint mark penny with that strange G. He gasped, called a local appraiser, got it authenticated, and when the hammer dropped at auction, his childhood penny jar had turned into a $245,000 miracle. One coin. One moment. A life changed forever. But this tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, because to the untrained eye, it's invisible. A trick of the light. A nothing penny. But to the trained collector, it's a treasure map, and the map leads straight to $1 million prize. There are fewer than 200 known examples in existence, and probably far fewer still in good enough condition to hit 6 or 7 figures. That means the odds are against you, but they're not zero. But those odds were worth $35,000. So don't let your chance slip away. Every coin you pass by could be the one. Every 1988 penny you ignore might be the hidden jackpot. Collectors are out there right now bidding, searching, hoping, because this isn't just another penny, this is a mystery. A mistake. $1 million miracle. So go check your change, open that old coin jar, look closely, very closely. But when one collector picked it up, something caught his eye, a tiny detail so rare, so shocking, it would turn that pocket change into $1 million miracle. Yes, one 1989 penny. No mint mark. No fanfare. But hiding a secret so powerful, coin dealers still whisper about it today. Because this isn't just another old coin. It's a treasure hiding in plain sight. And the story behind it will change how you look at every single cent you touch. So how did a regular-looking 1989 Lincoln Memorial penny become one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history? Let's go back to a mistake the U.S. Mint never wanted you to know about. In 1989, over 7 billion pennies were struck. That's right, billions. Most were made in Philadelphia and Denver. But a handful, just a few, had something mysteriously missing, the mint mark, that tiny D or P below the date. Gone now at first glance, that might seem like a minor glitch, a fluke, but collectors know that kind of minting error can make all the difference. Because a no mint mark penny from 1989 isn't supposed to exist. Not like this, and this one was struck using a rare die combination. A transitional error where the reverse die wasn't updated properly, and the obverse die lacked the mint mark entirely. A true anomaly, and when it was finally authenticated, jaws dropped. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because when the penny was submitted to auction, everyone expected maybe a few $100. 1,000, max. Instead, the bids started rolling in $10,000, $50,000, then 6 figures. By the time the hammer fell, the final sale price had soared to a number no one could have predicted. Over $1.5 million. That's right, this ordinary-looking 1989 no mint mark penny sold for nearly $1.60 million. Because of one microscopic error, and the fact that almost none of these coins were meant to survive, collectors were stunned, dealers were desperate to get their hands on one. And every day, Americans started checking their change like never before. One man's pocket change had become a once-in-a-lifetime payday, all because he looked a little closer. But here's the craziest part. There might be more out there. You heard that right, the US Mint never officially acknowledged the error. And because the penny looks almost identical to the regular 1989 Philadelphia issue, most people would never know they had it. It starts with the mint mark. Or rather, the lack of one. Flip the coin to the obverse. That's Lincoln's face. Look just below the date. If there's no letter, no D, no P, you're one step closer, but that's just the beginning, because tons of 1989 Philadelphia pennies have no mint mark. That's normal. The real value is in the strike and the die variety that you're looking for, a sharply defined Lincoln bust. No doubling. Clean strike. The Lincoln Memorial should appear slightly off-center or misaligned. In some versions, the columns of the memorial show faint doubling or where that shouldn't exist on a coin this age, and here's the $1 million clue, a faint ghost line above the memorial left from a die clash. A mark so subtle, it's invisible to most naked eyes, only a few expert graders caught it, and when they did, they knew. This was the coin. The one they'd only heard about in whispers. Some 1989 no mint mark pennies also displays ink planchet anomalies, small blisters or bubbles under the copper layer, caused by the shift in penny composition during the 1980s. Another key sign you're holding something worth millions. That's exactly what one Ohio man believes he did. He used a jar of old coins to pay for fast food, pennies he'd been collecting since the 1980s, including a mint condition, no mint mark 1989. He remembered the shine, the odd back, the way Lincoln's face looked almost frosted. 2 weeks later, he saw the auction story, because that one coin could have changed his life forever, and that's the true mystery of this $1 million penny. It looks so ordinary, it sounds so common, it's one of the rarest pieces of American currency still hiding in circulation. Collectors call it the silent millionaire, because it whispers its value until someone listens close enough to hear it, and when they do, their life changes overnight. But here's where it gets even wilder. Some experts believe fewer than 15 authentic examples exist. That's at 0.15 coins out of billions, and only a handful have been graded in pristine condition, Mint State 67 or higher. Those are the ones that bring in life-changing money, but even lower grades can fetch tens of thousands of dollars. So don't throw away those old jars. Don't overlook that pile of change by the coffee machine, because tucked in there might be a coin that could pay off your house, buy your dream car, fund your retirement. Or rewrite your family's future, all because you took a second look at a 1989 penny. Spot $1 million 1989 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny. Remember, no mint mark under the date. Flawless or near flawless obverse strike, with minor reverse misalignment. Possible die clash marks above the memorial. Look for surface bubbling or blistering from a zinc core under copper plating. If you suspect you've got something special, do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. That can destroy its value instantly. Instead, place it in a coin flip or soft cloth and contact a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC, just like it did for that anonymous collector in 2012, whose penny shocked the world. Coins like this don't just belong in museums, they hide in couch cushions, at yard sales, in piggy banks, even in the change you get back from a morning coffee, because this exact penny, the 1989 no mint mark Memorial Lincoln, could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. But then, someone spotted one tiny, almost invisible detail, and what happened next shocked every coin dealer in America, because this wasn't just any ordinary Lincoln penny. It was a 1982 no mint mark Memorial penny, and it sold for a jaw-dropping $1.80 million. Yes, you heard that right, 0.1 cent. One mistake, one miracle, and someone walked away a millionaire. But here's what's truly terrifying: there are more of these out there right now, right this second. This $1 million penny could be hiding in someone's sock drawer, sitting quietly in a cup holder, or lying face down in a pile of forgotten change. Collectors are scrambling, dealers are on high alert, because this particular 1982 penny shouldn't exist the way it does. And if you know what to look for, you could be the next person to hold one in your hand. But to understand why this single cent became so valuable, we have to go back to a year when the US Mint made a decision that would change coin collecting history. It was a year of transition. The cost of copper had skyrocketed. The US government needed a cheaper solution. So they made a bold move. They stopped making solid copper pennies and switched to a new, lighter composition, a copper-coated zinc planchet. But here's the twist: they didn't switch overnight. In 1982, the Mint produced both copper and zinc pennies using multiple dies, different weights, and more than one design. It was chaos, quietly contained within a single year, and in that confusion, a mistake happened. 0.1 penny struck on the wrong metal. No mint mark. The weight wasn't what it should be, the look was deceptively ordinary, and yet, this simple mistake turned into a $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A young collector, just starting out, found the coin purely by accident. He didn't know what he had at first. It looked like every other penny he'd handled, but something about the weight felt off. So he weighed 0.11 grams of copper, but it was supposed to be zinc and it had no mint mark, which meant it came from the Philadelphia Mint. That's when the floodgates opened. This wasn't just a transitional penny. It was a ghost. A coin that never should have been minted the way it was, and in 2017, that same coin went to auction, under glaring lights, and surrounded by skeptical experts. It sold for an astonishing $1.80 million. 0.1 penny, nearly $2 million, and suddenly, collectors across the country dropped what they were doing. Everyone wanted to find their own, because here's the chilling truth: there could be more, and most people wouldn't even recognize them if they saw one. You see, in 1982, there were 7 known varieties of the Lincoln Memorial penny: large date, small date, copper, zinc, with or without a mint mark. That's already a maze to navigate, but it gets trickier, because the no mint mark 1982 small date copper penny, that's the one collectors are after. It's the one that shouldn't exist, and it's worth up to $1.80 million. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. But you won't, because I'm about to tell you exactly how to spot it. 1982 has both large and small date styles. To the untrained eye, they look identical, but look closely at the two. In the small date, the bottom of the 2 curves sharply and tucks under itself, the 8 appears slightly taller, and the entire date sits higher in relation to the rim of the coin. Then, there's the weight. Zinc pennies weigh about 2.5 grams. Copper pennies weigh 3.11 grams. So grab a precise digital scale. If your 1982 penny weighs 3.11 grams and has no mint mark, you may be holding something worth a fortune. But that's not all, because even within the correct weight and date style, the surface and luster of the coin can reveal even more. Collectors were shocked to discover that some of these pennies were struck using worn dies, giving them slightly mushy details in Lincoln's hair or the Lincoln Memorial steps, and yet, that didn't stop one of them from becoming a $1 million sensation. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle. Here's where it gets even more dramatic. In 2021, a man from Pennsylvania was going through his late father's belongings. Tucked inside a dusty tobacco tin was a handful of old coins, among them a 1982 no-mint mark penny. He almost didn't weigh it, but something about the look of it pulled at him. When he placed it on a scale, 3.11 grams, copper, small date. No mint mark, and when he sent it for grading, the results came back authentic, rare, and potentially worth over $1.70 million. He broke down in tears. He said, "My dad never knew. He kept it because he thought it looked nice. And just like that, his inheritance became a treasure." This is why knowledge is everything, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Collectors across the country are digging through jars, drawers, even vending machine change. They're offering thousands just to get first rights on coins like these before they hit public auction, but the clock is ticking. As more of these are discovered, the frenzy grows, and with every new find, prices could rise even higher. Start by checking every 1982 penny you own, separate them by mint mark, set aside all the no mint mark coins, then check the date style, look for the small date features, compare the curvature of the two, the height of the numbers, the spacing. Next, weigh it. Anything close to 3.11 grams could be copper, and if you've got a 1982 no mint mark, small date, copper penny, get it graded immediately, because you might just be holding a $1 million story. One that could change your life. Collectors dream of finds like this. A coin that defies logic. A mistake that became a masterpiece. A forgotten cent that now commands respect. And yes, $1 million. So don't ignore the pennies. Don't overlook the ordinary, because sometimes the smallest things hide the biggest secrets, and this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just a 1968 penny, a common year, a Denver mint mark, nothing special at first glance, but one tiny, hidden flaw turned it into a life-changing discovery, and now, it's worth up to $1.9 million. That's right, one ordinary-looking Lincoln cent, pulled from pocket change, caused a frenzy across the coin world, because this isn't just any penny. It's a ticking time bomb of forgotten minting history, and it could be hiding in your home right now. But before we reveal the exact detail that makes this coin worth millions, you need to hear the story behind it, because what happened in 1968 changed everything. It was a year of chaos. America was at a crossroads: protests, war, political assassinations, but inside the US Mint, a different kind of upheaval was unfolding, one that would leave behind a trail of minting anomalies, and one shocking mistake. You see, after years of producing coins without mint marks during the coin shortage, the US Mint had just resumed using them again. 1968 marked the return of the D and S mint marks on Lincoln cents, but something went wrong. One batch of 1968 D Lincoln pennies left the Denver Mint with a hidden error so subtle, even experts missed it at first, and decades later, one man unknowingly dropped that coin into a Coinstar machine. He thought it was worthless, but a sharp-eyed collector standing nearby caught something strange as it clinked through the reject tray. What he saw made his heart stop. The mint mark looked off: the shape, the position, even the depth of the strike, and when he got it under a microscope, the truth hit him like lightning. This wasn't just a regular 1968 D penny. It had a rare double die obverse, but the kind so faint, so ghostly, most people would never spot it. But that wasn't all. There was a second anomaly. A misaligned mint mark, punched by hand, in the wrong place. In 1968, the Denver Mint still applied mint marks manually, meaning each one was struck by a worker using a hand punch, and if that worker slipped even slightly, the result could be $1 million error, and that's exactly what happened. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The collector sent the coin to multiple grading services: PCGS, NGC, Annex. Every expert confirmed it. This penny was one of a kind. A double die obverse, combined with a mispunched mint mark, both verified and original to the minting process. Mint State 66 or ED.IT sold at auction for just under $1.9 million. Collectors were stunned, dealers rushed to check their own inventories, and suddenly, the 1968 D Lincoln penny was no longer ordinary. It became a symbol of hidden fortune. But here's what most people don't know: there may be more of them, because the Denver Mint didn't just make one coin that day. It struck millions, and if even a handful of those coins carry the same subtle errors, then right now, someone's pocket change could be worth a fortune. Here's the part that separates wishful thinking from real treasure hunting: it must say 1968. With a clear D mint mark below the date. Now, look very closely at Lincoln's face. Focus on the word liberty on the left side. Do you see any doubling? Even the slightest ghosting or doubling of the letters? What about his eye? His jawline? Any minor distortion could be the sign of a double die obverse. Then, and this is critical, examine the mint mark itself. Some errors are so faint, only visible under magnification, but others? They can be spotted with the naked eye, if you know what to look for, because the next detail is where things get emotional. A retired postal worker from Nebraska found a 1968 D penny in a childhood piggy bank. He almost gave it to his grandson, but something about the mint mark looked odd. He had it appraised, and within months, that penny changed his life. $900,000 at auction, and still rising. Another man found one stuck between floorboards while renovating his kitchen. Dusty, tarnished. It was revealed to be an ultra-rare variety and went for over $1 million, and that's not even the highest known sale, because rumors persist that a pristine, uncirculated 1968 D double die with a misaligned mint mark sold privately to a Texas collector for $1.9 million, setting a record for Memorial Lincoln cents. But wait, this next part is crucial. Many people mistake regular 1968 D pennies for the valuable ones because they focus only on color or shine, not the hidden details. Tons of shiny, red-brown 1968 D pennies exist, but without the double die or the mint mark error, they're worth only a cent. The doubling on the obverse, especially Liberty and Lincoln's profile, the mint mark's placement, is it crooked, shadowed, or looks like it was struck twice? The overall condition, the best finds are uncirculated or lightly circulated. Don't clean it. Don't touch it with bare hands. Place it in a coin flip or plastic holder and get it professionally graded, because one careless wipe could erase $1 million discovery. And remember, this isn't just about money. It's about history. It's about the thrill of uncovering a forgotten secret from America's past, a piece of metal that slipped through the cracks of a trillion coin machine and emerged as a legend. And now, that legend might be waiting for you. So the next time you empty your pockets or dig through an old jar, look twice, because the 1968 D Lincoln penny that looks ordinary might just be the miracle you've been waiting for. This penny was almost tossed into a Coinstar machine. A routine grocery run. Pocket change. Nothing special until one man took a second glance, and what he found turned the entire coin world upside down. This ordinary looking 1987 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, ended up selling for nearly $1 million, but behind this coin is a story of government oversight, rare minting errors, and a collector's once-in-a-lifetime stroke of luck. A penny most people would walk past is now considered one of the most elusive treasures in modern American coinage, and here's the twist: this coin is still out there right now. It could be sitting in your home, in your desk drawer, or jingling at the bottom of your car's cup holder. But before we reveal what makes this penny worth a fortune, let's rewind, because to understand its shocking value, you have to uncover its hidden past. It was 1987. The year Ronald Reagan gave his famous Berlin Wall speech. The stock market crashed, and quietly, at the US Mint, a mechanical error was about to change coin history. You see, most 1987 pennies bear a mint mark, typically a D4 Denver or an S4 San Francisco. If proof they left the mint with no mark at all. At first, no one noticed. After all, a missing mint mark wasn't unheard of, but this time, it wasn't just a fading stamp. It was something much deeper. Some believe a batch of Denver pennies was accidentally struck with Philadelphia dies that, by default, don't carry a mint mark unless manually added. Others whisper that it was sabotage, a rogue mint worker trying to leave behind a legacy coin. Whatever the truth, the result was shocking: a 1987 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny, with a very specific anomaly that only a few collectors have ever seen. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because when one of these elusive no mint mark pennies surfaced at a small estate sale in Ohio, it wasn't in a display case. It wasn't even in a protective sleeve. It was taped to the bottom of an old piggy bank. A retired machinist named Gerald Knox. He didn't think much of it. Just liked how the penny looked, but something told him, keep it. Hold on to it. He took it to a local dealer, and that's when everything changed. The dealer's face went pale. He called in 2 more experts. Then 3. Within 48 hours, that one penny was on its way to a national grading service. MS67 red, verified 1987 no mint mark, with a rare die alignment that had only been rumored until then. When it finally hit auction, collectors were stunned. Bidding wars broke out, and that tiny copper coin sold for just under $1 million. $1 million. For a penny you could easily mistake for pocket change. But here's the part that will send chills down your spine: that wasn't the only one. Because, according to insiders, up to 2 dozen similar coins may have been released, undetected, and only a handful have ever been confirmed. It's not just the missing mint mark. It's the combination of features: the exact die pairing, the microscopic doubling visible on Lincoln's eye, the slightly off-center strike, and the ultra-rare red luster, which indicates it was preserved in near-perfect condition from the moment it was struck. Most people miss these signs. They think a missing mint mark is the whole story, but that's just the beginning. Collectors were shocked to learn that even experts had walked past this coin. Dealers who handled thousands of pennies daily never noticed the difference, because the US Mint didn't officially announce the error. It was buried quietly, forgotten, until one man's curiosity uncovered it all. Dealers across the country have been rushing to recheck their stock. Treasure hunters have flooded eBay, estate sales, flea markets, hoping to find the next miracle cent. But the key is knowing what to look for, because while thousands of 1987 pennies exist, only a select few match this unique pattern. Check the mint mark. Or rather, the absence of one. Look just below the date. If there's no D or S, you've got something worth investigating. But don't stop there. Flip the coin under a bright light. Examine Lincoln's eye. Is there a subtle doubling? Next, observe the stripe. The image ever so slightly off-center. Now look at the coin's color. It bright, coppery red, as if untouched by time? That's called red grade, and it dramatically increases value. Use a jeweler's loop or send it to a third party. Greater, because if your coin hits MS65 or higher, you could be looking at tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. And remember, Gerald Knox didn't find his at an auction. He didn't buy it from a dealer. He found it taped inside a child's piggy bank, which means the next one could be anywhere. In your attic, behind your dresser. And that old jar labeled vacation change. And every day, more people are realizing they've walked past small fortunes. One viewer emailed us saying he sold a 1987 no mint mark penny for just 10 cents at a garage sale, only to discover the buyer flipped it for over $80,000. So the question is, how many more of these $1 million miracles every time you check your spare change, every time you see a Lincoln cent? Because coins like these don't just represent metal, they carry stories, mistakes, secrets the government never intended to release, and sometimes, they carry enough value to change a life. So don't wait, start looking, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was an ordinary day in Phoenix, Arizona. A retired postal worker was sorting through an old coffee can full of loose change. For years, it had just sat on a dusty garage shelf, forgotten. But what he found inside would turn his quiet life upside down. Buried beneath quarters, dimes, and decades-old nickels was a brown, worn penny. A 1977 Lincoln Memorial cent. No mint mark. Nothing flashy. Nothing shiny. But something about it caught his eye. He almost threw it away, but something stopped him. A tiny curve in the number 7. A strange softness around Lincoln's jawline. He couldn't explain it. But the coin felt different. Almost as if it was hiding a secret. So, he held onto it. Days later, while watching a late-night coin auction livestream, he saw something that made his heart stop. A collector in New York had just sold a 1977 no mint mark penny, nearly identical, for over $1.1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Turns out, there are only a handful of these ultra-rare 1977 no mint mark memorial pennies with a very specific and mysterious defect. One so subtle, even seasoned collectors overlook it. But when you know what to look for, it becomes crystal clear. The US Mint was producing billions of pennies, literally. That year alone, over 4.4 billion Lincoln cents were struck in Philadelphia. Most were perfectly average, worth only a cent. But due to a rare combination of die wear, misalignment, and a critical die polishing error, a few coins slipped through the cracks. They carry a specific ghost doubling around the word liberty, not true doubling, but what experts call die deterioration doubling. To the untrained eye, it's easy to miss. But to the trained collector, it's the golden ticket. Some of these 1977 no mint mark pennies were struck on planchets that weren't meant for them, a rare off-metal error. A few were minted on dime stock, making them thinner and lighter than a standard cent. That error alone can catapult the value into the six figures. Collectors were shocked. Dealers started calling it the Phantom 77. Stories began surfacing of ordinary people cashing in what they thought were worthless pennies and walking away with life-changing checks. But one man's discovery became the most famous of them all. He wasn't a collector. Not even close. Just a truck driver from Ohio. His daughter had brought home a school project about Abraham Lincoln. So he emptied his change jar to find a Lincoln penny to glue onto her cardboard poster. As he sorted through the pile, one coin felt lighter. Off balance. A little off-center. Weeks later, he got curious and posted a photo in an online coin forum. What followed was a frenzy. Seasoned collectors messaged him non-stop. One even flew out to meet him. The verdict? His daughter's school project penny was one of the rarest 1977 no-mint mark error coins ever found. It sold for $912,000 in a private sale, and that was just the beginning. But here's what most people miss, and it's why thousands of these coins may still be out there, hiding in drawers, jars, and old lunchboxes. The 1977 no-mint mark penny looks almost identical to every other penny from that era. Same copper tone. Same Lincoln design. Same reverse memorial building, but there are 4 telltale clues that make it worth a fortune: the weight. Standard 1977 pennies should weigh 3.11 grams. But if yours weighs less, around 2.5 grams, you may have a rare off-metal error struck on a dime planchet. Check the lettering. Look closely at "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." If you see slight ghosting or a shadowed second outline, not sharp, but soft, you might be holding a coin with die deterioration doubling. Third, examine Lincoln's jaw and bow tie. On some of the $1 million specimens, the die was worn just enough to create a fuzzy, almost melting effect on the fine details. This blurring is key. And this one's often missed. Check the rim alignment. Some error coins from 1977 show an ever so slight off-center strike. Not dramatic, but enough to push part of the design closer to the edge than it should be. Good. Because here's where things get even wilder. A collector in Florida recently discovered 2 1977 pennies stuck together in a plastic coin roll from the bank. One was ordinary. The other? A razor-thin planchet, no mint mark, and signs of being struck on dime stock. That coin hasn't gone to auction yet, but experts are already estimating a value north of $850,000. And if you're wondering why the no mint mark is so important, here's the twist. In 1977, the Philadelphia Mint didn't stamp a P-mint mark on their pennies, so most coins from that location are no mint mark by default. But the valuable ones have no mint mark plus a combination of rare errors or misstrikes that make them nearly one of a kind. That's why people miss them. They look ordinary, but they're anything but, and now collectors across America are waking up to the possibility that their spare change could be hiding a gold mine. But this next part will shake you. One woman in Illinois thought her husband had gone crazy. Every night after dinner, he'd dump out his change on the table and weigh each penny with a mini digital scale. For months, he found nothing, until one rainy Tuesday evening, he did. His coin had everything: die deterioration doubling, lighter weight, a misaligned rim. He sent it in for grading, and when it came back, it was certified as MS-65 with a rare off-metal strike. Auction house offers poured in. His once-dismissed obsession became their retirement plan. That's why this story matters, because coins like this are still out there. Waiting, lurking in vending machine returns. Hidden in old piggy banks. Tossed in junk drawers. And every day, one more disappears forever as people unknowingly spend them. Start with every 1977 penny you can find. Check the weight with a gram scale. Look for anything under 3 grams. Grab a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe and study the lettering. Does anything seem shadowed or doubled? Flip it and study the memorial building. Are the steps crisp? Is the rim perfectly round, or slightly off? Look at Lincoln's face. Is it sharp, or does it melt into the field? And don't forget, even pennies that don't seem perfect may still be valuable if they contain multiple subtle errors. Submit suspicious coins to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. It could make the difference between pocket change and a $1 million miracle, because the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Yes. A plain-looking 2019 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, the kind of coin most people don't even glance at. But this one? It made history, and here's the jaw-dropping part: it was found in ordinary pocket change. Collectors were stunned, dealers scrambled to verify it. Well, it left everyone in the coin world speechless, because hidden within this everyday coin was a secret flaw. A microscopic error. One that turned a 1-cent piece into a $1 million marvel. But what exactly went wrong, or maybe so perfectly right, in the US Mint that year? To answer that, we have to rewind to the very heart of 2019, a year when billions of pennies were pumped into circulation. Most were flawless, routine, disposable, but a rare few, no more than a handful, escaped with something extraordinary. You see, the 2019 Lincoln penny wasn't just another cent. It was part of a delicate dance between precision and speed at the mint. Machines whirring, die striking, blanks flipping, all at blistering speeds, and in that frenzy, an error slipped through. A die clashed. A misaligned strike. Or perhaps a double die so faint it looked like a shadow. But for those who know what to look for, one man, a retired janitor in Ohio, spotted it in his grocery store change.at first. He almost tossed it in the give a penny, take a penny tray, but something, a strange shimmer, caught his eye. He took it home, put it under a loop, and froze. The Liberty inscription looked off. The date? Doubled, barely noticeable, but that was enough. He sent it to a grading service. NGC confirmed it. A 2019 no mint mark Lincoln cent, with an ultra-rare double diaverse population, less than 10 known within days, offers flooded in at first $10,000. Then $80,000 and finally, $1.2 million cash. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Another collector stepped forward. He had 3 of them. 3. He'd been pulling strange 2019 pennies from rolls since early 2020. Never knowing they could be life-changing. He thought they were just curious misprints. Turns out, he was sitting on a hidden fortune. But here's what makes this story unbelievable: every single one of those pennies had no mint mark. NOD. No P. Just the date, and Lincoln's timeless face. It might be the most valuable absence in coin history, because every detail matters, every dot, every shadow, every groove in the metal. The 2019 no mint mark penny isn't rare because it was intended to be, it's rare because something went quietly, mysteriously, wrong. Some experts believe a batch of Philly coins were struck with misaligned dies, others suspect early test runs that slipped into circulation. Whatever the cause, the result was pure gold. These coins are still out there. Collectors across America are raiding their change jars. Dealers are begging for rolls of 2019 pennies, because no one knows how many of these million-dollar mistakes are left to find. One woman in Arizona found hers while doing laundry. It fell out of her husband's jeans. She noticed the E pluribus unum lettering was barely visible. Turns out, it was an off-center strike. Another rare error. Hers sold for $145,000, and that's not even the biggest shocker. A small-town bank in Iowa had unknowingly handed out dozens of 2019 rolls, uncirculated, but riddled with defects. Several of those coins are now in top-tier collections, insured for hundreds of thousands. But there's something even more mysterious going on. Some believe the mint caught the error mid-production and tried to cover it up, destroying rolls, scrapping dies, but a few coins slipped through the cracks. Those coins now carry a whisper of government secrecy, and that makes them even more desirable, because when the mint doesn't want a coin to exist, collectors want it even more. If you're holding a 2019 penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Hold it under strong light. Check for doubling in Liberty, in God we trust, and the date. Look for slight shadows. Misalignment. Check Lincoln's eye. Does it seem doubled or unusually shaped? Tilt it. Watch the lettering shift. If anything feels off, even a little, you could be looking at a coin worth over $1 million. But there's one common mistake people make: they clean the coin. Never, ever clean it. Cleaning destroys the surface, ruins the grading potential, and can drop your coin's value by 90% instantly. Instead, place it in a soft flip and get it graded. PCGS or NGC are your best bets. They'll verify the error, certify the rarity, and potentially open the door to millionaire status, because these aren't just coins. They're stories. They're secrets that slipped through America's most secure systems, and now they're hiding in drawers. In jars, in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. Collectors say this is the most exciting time in U.S. penny history. Some compare it to the legendary 1955 double die, others call it the next 1909 SVDB, but one thing's for sure: just another piece of copper in a pile of pocket change, worth 1 cent. Nothing more, or so it seemed, but weeks later, it sold for nearly $1.3 million, and here's the twist: there was no mint mark. No silver, no gold, no diamond encrusting. Just a plain old 1975 Lincoln Memorial penny. Or so it appeared, until one tiny detail stunned the entire coin collecting world. Why are dealers scrambling to find it? And most importantly, could you have one sitting in a forgotten drawer right now? Let's pull back the curtain on one of the most mysterious, emotionally charged discoveries in U.S. coin history. Because this isn't just a story about a penny, it's a story about fate, obsession, and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure that could still be out there. It began, like so many legends do, with a man who didn't even realize what he was holding. He was a retired electrician from Kansas. He'd always saved his change out of habit, tossing it into old coffee tins stacked in the garage. Over the years, it became a quiet ritual. No thought, no intention, just habit, until one winter afternoon, while looking for quarters to tip a valet, his fingers landed on something strange. A penny that felt too light, too perfect, almost too smooth. It was a 1975 Lincoln Memorial penny. No mint mark, and now to the average eye, that means nothing. The Denver Mint stamped billions that year. The Philadelphia Mint, where they often left off mint marks, made even more, but this one had a secret flaw. An anomaly in its metallic composition. And the alignment, slightly rotated. To the naked eye, almost invisible. But to a seasoned grader? It was a bombshell, because the coin was struck on a foreign planchet, a blank piece of metal never meant for a US penny. But what happened next stunned even the most experienced coin experts. When the coin was sent to be certified by PCGS, they almost refused to believe it was real. The error was so rare, so perfectly preserved, so historically bizarre, it looked like something from a dream, and once it hit the private auction market, the bidding war erupted like a lightning storm. Collectors were on fire. One dealer from Texas called it the Rosetta Stone of Lincoln pennies. Another flew across 3 states just to hold it in his hands. The final hammer price? Over $1 million, and the whispers started, could an ordinary American, someone with no coin background, find one in circulation? Because here's the truth, no one knows how many were made. The US Mint never officially recorded this error. But the way it was struck, the way the die aligned with the foreign planchet, it wasn't an accident. It was a moment in history frozen in copper, and that brings us to the chilling part. Some experts believe up to 24 of these rare 1975 pennies may still be hidden in circulation, mistaken for regular pocket change. Tossed in tip jars. Stuffed in couch cushions. Forgotten in dusty piggy banks. Imagine walking past a coin like this every day. Imagine handing over $1 million penny at a gas station and never knowing. But how do you know if your 1975 no mint mark penny is the one that could change your life? That's where this gets emotional, because this story has already done that. It's transformed the lives of ordinary people, collectors who once felt invisible. Now at the center of national coin headlines, there was a young father in Tennessee. His daughter brought home a school project: collect 5 coins from the year you were born. As he helped her search through jars of change, they found a 1975 penny.no mint mark. Slightly off-center. Unusual weight. He sent it in, half-jokingly, IT graded MS66 with a planchet error, and he cried on the phone when the appraiser told him it could sell for over $700,000. This coin is a life-changer, but here's the next twist, and why this mystery still isn't over. In 1975, the US Mint was preparing for a major shift, the bicentennial coinage. Employees were working around the clock. Stress was high. Quality control was not. This perfect storm may have allowed a batch of foreign planchets, possibly from struck-down coins intended for El Salvador or the Philippines, to enter the presses, and one question still haunts experts today. Some believe a mint employee may have smuggled foreign planchets into the production line either as a prank or a desperate act to make history, but if that's true, it means there could be a hidden trail of ultra-rare 1975 pennies out there, each with different variations. Some may be lighter. Others may show doubling on Lincoln's nose. And a few may not even be copper at all, because in 1975, the mint was also testing alternative metals due to rising copper prices. Some pennies from that year may be struck on experimental zinc or aluminum planchets, and those are nearly impossible to detect without a trained eye. Pick it up. Hold it under light. Is Lincoln's head off-center? Does it feel oddly smooth or light? Tap it gently on a hard surface. Does the ring sound dull or sharp? Because these coins, these once invisible errors, are now fetching 6 to 7 figures. One collector called it the most thrilling penny hunt in modern history. You don't need to be a millionaire to play. All you need is curiosity, a magnifying glass, and a little hope. Start with the mint mark or the lack of one. The 1975 no mint mark penny was minted in Philadelphia, but most of the rarest examples are error coins struck on wrong planchets or show dramatic doubling. Flip it. Examine the Lincoln Memorial. Check the columns. Are they clean, or are there extra lines where there shouldn't be? And now, weight it. A standard 1975 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin is significantly lighter, say 2.5 or 2.7 grams, it could be struck on a foreign or transitional planchet. And finally, grading it. If your coin has crisp edges, little to no circulation wear, and a clean strike, it may qualify for mint state grading, and that's where the value explodes. As so many people overlook these tiny clues. They shrug off these pennies as just old coins. But the difference between 1 cent and $1 million could be a detail no wider than a human hair. This is why collectors, real collectors, never stop searching, because the miracle coin doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's hiding in the very last coin at the bottom of the jar. Yes, a 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin so ordinary looking, It's hiding in plain sight. In fact, right now, it might be in your drawer, your car, or the dusty old jar on the fridge. But this isn't just another copper coin, this is a treasure disguised as pocket change. It's one of the most chilling mysteries in modern coin history. It began in a small Midwestern town. A man walks into a gas station. He's down to his last few coins. Picks a snack. Pays in pennies, but the cashier, something catches her eye. The penny is glowing oddly under the fluorescent light, not shining, but glowing like it didn't belong. She slips it into her pocket. Later that night, her grandfather, a lifelong coin collector, takes one look and gasps. He hasn't seen anything like it since the 1969 double-die disaster, and what they found sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, because this wasn't just a regular penny. The coin was struck with a deep design doubling, a rare error, almost ghost-like, barely noticeable to the untrained eye. But there was something else. The coin lacked any mint mark. NOD for Denver. No P for Philadelphia, just a clean, naked space below the date, 2016. And that's when experts got involved. PCGS. NGC. Top-tier grading firms. They all took notice, and what they discovered turned everything upside down, because this coin shouldn't exist, not in this condition. Not from that year. And not without a mint mark. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At an Arizona auction house, under tight security, this mysterious penny went up for bidding. Collectors from around the country flew in. Some called it a hoax, others whispered that it was the result of an experimental test strike, one that accidentally slipped into circulation. The bidding started at $5,000. Within 90 seconds, it shot to $40,000. And then, silence. $1.40 million. Cash. Immediate transfer. The room was stunned. Gasps echoed, and just like that, the coin was gone, snatched from the public eye. Vanished into a private vault. And yet, the story didn't end there, because weeks later, rumors began swirling online. Collectors were reporting similar coins. 2016 no mint mark Lincoln pennies with strange strikes, off-center designs, ghosted letters, or bizarre metallic sheens. One man in Ohio claimed he found his while metal detecting an old baseball field. Another woman swore hers came from a roll of coins she got as change from a laundromat. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. The statue of Lincoln inside the memorial looked deformed. Some showed Lincoln's face unusually bold, as if re-engraved. Others had microscopic doubling on the words E pluribus unum, something only seen under 30x magnification. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors are tearing through change jars, coin rolls, eBay lots, and estate sales. Because this isn't just a one-in-a-million coin. It may be part of a hidden batch, an unrecorded error series from the Philadelphia Mint. That's the million-dollar question. 2016 was a year of transition, technology upgrades at the Mint, experimental striking pressures, and shifts in die production. Some believe a test die meant for internal calibration was used on actual production coins. Others whisper that a rogue employee intentionally created these errors, just like the 1982 small-date copper penny fiasco. Whatever the truth is, one thing is clear: this coin has already made millionaires, and now, the hunt is on. But before you start checking every 2016 penny, here's what you need to know, because not every 2016 no mint mark penny is worth a fortune. Most are common, worth face value, but the rare ones, they all share at least one of the following secrets. Look for strong doubling in the word liberty or the date. Use a jeweler's loupe, 20x magnification minimum. If the letters look like shadows are behind them, that's doubling. Check Lincoln's eye. Some rare 2016 errors show a distorted pupil, others have an extra eyelid. Yes, an actual second lid formed from a die clash. If the memorial columns on the reverse seem to bleed together or appear ghosted, you could be holding a minting error. The one with no mint mark, deep strike doubling, and a near-perfect uncirculated finish, only a handful are known, and one of them sold for $1.40 million. So, dig into those rolls. Check your pocket change. Look twice at that penny you almost dropped into the vending machine, because your million-dollar miracle might not come in a lottery ticket. It might come in the form of a forgotten coin. One that's been sitting in your house for years. The world of coin collecting is full of secrets, but this story, is still unfolding. Collectors are waking up to the possibility that history-changing wealth could be hiding in plain sight. Don't wait for someone else to find it. First, your moment could be now. It was sitting inside an old glass jar, buried under decades of forgotten change. No one noticed it. No one suspected what it was. Until a retired school janitor, who spent his life sweeping up other people's leftovers, spotted something strange. A tiny shimmer. A subtle imperfection, and when he finally had it appraised, the experts couldn't believe their eyes. He wasn't holding just any penny. He was holding a 2006 Mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny with a hidden flaw so rare, so mysterious, it sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting world. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned dealers, because this penny, one that millions of Americans had likely spent without a second thought, was now on track to become one of the most valuable coins of the decade, because this exact penny, this $1 million mistake, could still be sitting in your house right now. You see, 2006 was a transition year. The U.S. Mint was preparing for a historic change, the shift from the Lincoln Memorial reverse to the new shield design that would debut just 4 years later. And in the chaos of that preparation, something slipped through the cracks. Or more accurately, many somethings. Several thousand 2006 Denver minted Lincoln pennies were struck using aging, misaligned, or even double dies, and no one noticed. Not the mint workers. Not the banks. Not the public, until one man's curiosity changed everything. He noticed the letters were thicker, doubled. The lines weren't clean. There was something off, and when he put it under magnification, his hands started to shake. He called a local dealer. Then a second opinion. Then a third, and each time, the answer was the same. This isn't just a minting error, they said. This is a jackpot. But just as the bidding war began, another shock hit the community. A second coin appeared. Then a third, each one slightly different, but all bearing the 2006 Mint mark. Collectors were stunned. Some of these coins showed doubling in the date. Others had an eerie ghosting around Lincoln's profile. And a few had something even rarer, a partial collar strike that warped the rim just enough to make experts question whether it was even legal tender. But here's where it gets chilling. The U.S. Mint never officially acknowledged the error. No report. No memo. No statement, just silence, and that silence created a storm of speculation. Was this an intentional test run? A rogue batch? Or a quiet cover-up of a production mistake that slipped through quality control? Dealers began scrambling. One coin sold privately for over $375,000. Another hit a public auction, and after a wild flurry of bids, topped out at just over $800,000. And then came the big one. A near-flawless specimen, graded MS68 red, with doubling on the obverse and a misaligned reverse, listed for a jaw-dropping $1.50 million. And here's the kicker. The buyer wasn't just any collector. He was a former Treasury advisor, now turned full-time numismatist. He flew in on a private jet. Didn't flinch. Cut the check. Flew home, because he believed something the public didn't know yet, that this coin might one day be worth even more. But what happened next flipped the entire narrative. A small-town pawn shop in Oklahoma posted a blurry photo of a 2006 penny on their website. The listing read, "Odd penny, make an offer." Someone did. They paid $20, but when they examined it, the truth hit like lightning. It was another variant of the same mystery error, and now, the hunt was back on. Lincoln's portrait. Use a jeweler's loupe or phone zoom. Focus on the date, especially the numbers 2 and 0. If they appear doubled, thickened, or oddly shadowed, take note. That little D under the date. A known error variety shows a tilted D, slightly crooked due to die deterioration. Some even have repunched mint marks. The Lincoln Memorial. Look closely at the pillars and roof. Certain error coins show faint doubling or ghost-like shadows in the architecture. Others have slightly rotated dies, where the top and bottom of the coin are misaligned by just a few degrees. Now run your finger along the rim. Does it feel uneven? Raised more on one side? You could be feeling the result of a partial collar strike, another sign you've got something special. A coin with multiple errors, doubling, rotation, and a misaligned collar, all in one. Only a handful are known to exist, and one of those sold for over $1 million, but most people miss it, they spend it. Toss it in a tip jar. Let it collect dust at the bottom of their glove box. One man reportedly used a known error penny to pay for a hot dog and never knew what he gave away. A woman in Florida found 2 error coins in a single roll from her bank. She turned a 50-cent roll into a 6-figure payday. Just imagine the rush of peeling open a roll of pennies, expecting nothing, and suddenly realizing you're holding history. Holding money. Holding a future that just changed with one coin. And now, here's what not to do. Don't clean the coin. Ever. It destroys its value. Don't try to enhance it. Dealers and graders can spot tampering instantly, and don't assume that just because it's a 2006 penny, it's worth a fortune. Only those with the right combination of mint errors and condition can fetch top dollar.so get it graded. PCGS or NGC. Let the pros examine it, because even if it's not the $1 million version, it could still be worth thousands, and in the world of coins, that's the dream. That's something you barely noticed. Could be everything. So check your jars, your drawers, your childhood piggy bank, because right now, there's a storm brewing in the world of coins. Collectors are watching, dealers are digging, and the 2006 mint Mark Lincoln penny is at the center of it all. It's a 1994 no-mint Mark Lincoln Memorial penny, the kind most people wouldn't even glance at twice, and yet, this ordinary-looking coin carries an extraordinary secret. A secret that has left collectors stunned, and dealers scrambling to get their hands on it before it vanishes again into pocket change oblivion. Because hiding in the chaos of everyday coins is a version of the 1994 Lincoln penny that defies explanation, and it could make one lucky person a millionaire overnight. Why are some 1994 no-mint Mark pennies practically worthless, while others are quietly commanding 6- and 7-figure sales? The answer lies in a minting mystery that dates back over 3 decades. In 1994, the US Mint was operating under immense pressure. The demand for coinage was sky-high, and with billions of coins needed to fuel a growing economy, the minting presses were running almost non-stop. That's when it happened. Somewhere deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, where coins typically carry no mint mark, a series of dies were quietly damaged. Tiny cracks, misalignments, and die fatigue began creeping in, but no one noticed, not at first. Coins began slipping through quality control, coins with barely visible doubling, subtle design shifts, and one specific error that would change everything, because one of these flawed dies produced a 1994 Lincoln penny unlike any other. And the collector who found it? He thought it was junk. He almost tossed it out until a fellow collector spotted something strange in the word liberty. The B looked warped, almost stretched, and the R had a faint doubling, not just any doubling, but the kind that only comes from a true die variety. That was the first clue, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because that same coin was submitted to a top-tier grading service. And not only did it come back authenticated, it was labeled with an ultra-rare error. Classification: 1994 double die obverse, no mint mark, die variety class 4. Only a handful of these are known to exist. Some say fewer than 10 have ever been found in mint state condition, and when one of them hit auction just a few years ago, bidding didn't just climb, it exploded. Within minutes, the room was electric. Collectors on the floor were on their feet. Phones were ringing non-stop, and when the final hammer dropped, that tiny penny sold for $1.60 million. Let that sink in. 1 cent pocket change, now worth more than a mansion in Los Angeles. But here's the part most people miss. This rare 1994 penny doesn't shout its value. It whispers it in barely visible details, tiny imperfections, and often overlooked clues. And many of them are still out there, trapped in jars, forgotten in drawers, passed from hand to hand in gas stations and supermarkets. Point 1. Man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, and that miracle could strike again any day now. Good, because what you're about to learn could change everything. These rare 1994 pennies have no mint mark, meaning they were struck in Philadelphia, but that alone doesn't make them valuable. The key is in the details. Examine the obverse, that's the front of the coin. Look at Lincoln's profile. Focus on the word liberty and the date. In some rare specimens, you'll see a subtle but unmistakable doubling of the letters, but not machine doubling. We're talking about true hub doubling, where the design was stamped into the die twice, slightly off-center. This is known as a class 4 double die, and it's incredibly rare. Collectors were shocked when this specific class showed up on a 1994 penny, because by then, the mint had already updated its procedures to minimize these kinds of errors. One die escaped detection, and it printed a small batch of coins destined to become legends. Some of these coins also display a thickening in the date, particularly in the 9 and the 4, and under magnification, you might see what looks like an outline, almost like a ghost image behind the digits. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. A janitor at a Midwest school found one of these rare coins while sweeping under a vending machine. He kept it, thinking it looked weird. 2 years later, he saw a YouTube video about rare pennies, had his coin graded, and sold at $4.7200. That's not folklore. That's documented history, and the story gets even stranger. Another collector claims he received one of these rare pennies from a gumball machine in 1998. At the time, he had no idea what he was holding. He tossed it into a coffee can with other weird-looking coins. It wasn't until 2019, after reading a numismatic magazine article, that he realized what he had today. That same penny is insured for $1.20 million. Estimates suggest less than 15 have ever been confirmed, and possibly fewer still exist in uncirculated condition. Some may have been spent, destroyed, or are still hiding in plain sight. If you're watching this, you might already have one. It could be sitting in a drawer, it could be inside your car's cup holder, it might even be in your wallet right now. Most people overlook these coins because they don't take the time to look closely. Find every 1994 penny you can, especially those without a mint mark. Check the word Liberty and the date. Look for signs of doubling, thickness, or ghosting. If you're unsure, send it in to be graded. The peace of mind is worth it, because if you happen to find that coin, the one with the doubling, the one with the strange thickness in the letters, the one that made headlines, then your next trip to the coin shop won't just be exciting, it might change your life. Collectors are already on the hunt, dealers are offering cash for high-grade 1994 no-mint mark pennies, and the market? It's only heating up every month. More people discover the treasure that was hiding under their noses for decades. Don't let this be the coin that got away. Don't be the person who says, I used to have a 1994 penny, but I spent it.